Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news. It's Saturday Night Live. A price has been set for Tonali should Manchester United hit it. We'll be talking about that. Also, a swap deal potentially as United express interest in Balde of Barcelona. Could we do something around Rashford there? Also, another midfielder from Chelsea that United continually are being linked to and have concrete interest in. And some positive news around injuries. Plus, it's Saturday night. You can dictate the show as you sometimes do. So get your comments in as always. I've calmed down. I was doing the... it's not a red card. Even Rooney said it on the telly. It's not a red card. The game's gone. That's not a red card. Ruined the game. Football being ruined by referees yet again. It's not even United games. Hamza says, first super chat of the evening from Hamza. Thank you very much. He says, would you rather Tonali and Anderson or Gomes and Stiller? Also, I love the United Stand and I watch every show. Tonali and Anderson or Gomes and Bruno G and Stiller? Tonali and Anderson, I think. I like Bruno G and I love Stiller, but I think Tonali and Anderson would be perfection, absolute perfection. Okay, let's get into the show. Get your comments in as always. Appreciate you. So look, we're going to start off with. Should we start off with the Balde swap deal, or should we start off with Santos, or should we start? We'll start off with Tonali because I think this is the best. This is the most interesting one I wanted to start off with. A little bit of news around Shea Lacey as well. He's back in training. He's actually been out injured for the last month. A lot of people, myself included, didn't understand why he'd not been in the squad. Apparently, he's had an injury for the last month. I mean, United, again, keeping injuries quiet because I actually didn't even know he was injured. So that's why Lacey's not been involved, but he's back in training with the first team. So we might get to see him over the next few weeks. And I think Carrick would use Lacey. It's an open door, really, isn't it? So I think they will. So let's start off with this. This is coming in from Italian reports, which is very interesting because obviously Tonali is Italian. Newcastle United will demand, so price set for Tonali, Newcastle United will demand €100 million to even consider selling Tonali amid interest from Arsenal, Man United and Real Madrid. The Magpies are expecting transfer offers to come in this summer, but they will stand firm on their valuation if approaches arrive. So €100 million would be 86.9 million. You know what I'm going to do? Because we did this about a week ago, and I said, would you pay £100 million for Anderson? And some of you said no, and I was like, well, where are you going to go then? Where are you going to go? Would you pay 86 million for Tonali? Let me know in the chat what your thoughts are on that. Look, honestly, sometimes you've got to get real. SK's just losing it in the chat, saying, fucking hell, what a midfield that would be, Tonali and Anderson. It would, but it would cost £180 million, probably. You've got to get real. Tonali is fantastic. He was brilliant against us. He's been brilliant all season. I think he is the perfect six. There's not really that many sixes we're looking at. Anderson's not really a six. Wharton's not really a six. Balaba's not really a six. Tonali is a six. We're losing one with Casemiro. So Tonali is a six. But he has got a 3-year contract with... I'm pretty sure he's got a 3-year contract left with Newcastle. And therefore, it's not like Bruno G, who's going to be 29 in November with 2 years left on his contract. He is a player that has 3 years left on his contract. He's got 2 years left on his contract, 2028. Well, that changes it a little bit. That does change it a little bit. So according to this, well, he's 25 as well. He'll be 26 in May, and he's got 2 years left on his contract. Look, that sort of changes it a little bit because 2 years left on your contract at 26. If he doesn't sign a contract at 27, he's going to go for about 50. So do Newcastle get real, or do they dig their feet in? They dug their feet in with Isak. I mean, look, if 80... What I'm trying to say is £86 million realistic, or could we get it down a little bit? It really comes down to whether they want it to happen or not, whether they need it to happen or not. And 2 years left on his contract at effectively 26 years of age. Yes, if somebody offered you 75, you might take it. But then there is competition there, isn't there? So £86 million is a lot of money. And I agree with Flock. I think £70 million is fair. But you know what? To be consistent, why are we arguing about price? If I said to you, I am the director of football, I am Sir Jim Radcliffe, I am buying you Tonali, are you really going to say, well, don't do it if it's £86 million? If I say to you, Tonali's the guy and I'm going to get him, are you really going to sit there and moan if I spend £86 million on him? And what are the alternatives to doing that? Let's get real. Elliot Anderson's going to cost between 60 and 80. Wharton's going to cost between 60 and 80. Belieber's going to cost between 60 and 80. So, 86 for Tonali. If you can go and get me 2 players as good as Tonali for that money, then okay, let's talk. And maybe Stiller is an interesting opportunity. But I think, look, Italy might not play in the World Cup. If Italy don't play in the World Cup, then potentially Manchester United could spend the summer negotiating. Apparently he wants to go to Italy. I think with Tonali, age and talent and Premier League proven and all that stuff, is there a box that Tonali doesn't tick? We need a number 6. Apparently the club want them to be Premier League proven. They want them to be 26 or under. And they want them to hit the ground running. So, in many ways, he does tick, doesn't he? And £86 million is a lot of money. It is a lot of money. And you might be able to bring that down a bit. But when you're paying 75, does 86 make a hell of a difference? So, I think, would I pay £86 million for Tonali? I think fundamentally I'd answer the question yes, because knowing who wants him, and I do agree with Tobias, he is perfect. Knowing who wants him, I think you've won the race, haven't you? So I think I would do it. I think I would do it. Yeah. Do you regret wanting Gallagher now? He's on 200 grand a week at Spurs and has been crap. He's not even an upgrade on Agate. Marvin. Oh, Marvin, I'll answer you this one very, very quickly. Or shall I come back a little bit later and give you more of an answer? Because there's other stuff I want to talk about. But I don't regret Man United and Conor Gallagher. I don't regret it at all. Because as I said in January, we needed to buy a midfielder. And as I've said over the last 4 games, our midfield's been shit. And it got absolutely ran over like roadkill on Wednesday night. So would I have took Conor Gallagher in January? Yes, I would. Are you telling me that you're happy with our midfield? It's shit, mate. Of course I'd take Conor Gallagher. And actually, every time I've seen him play for Spurs, he's done quite well. So I would have took him, yeah. Get Tonali and 40 to 60 million, 8, says Chachi. Okay, yeah, so you'd buy Tonali and then buy an 8 for 4. Well, look, if you spent £86 million on Tonali, do you need to buy anyone else? Yes. But you have got Mainu, so do you need to spend £80 million on the 8? You probably make a good point. You spend your big money on Tonali, and then you bring a number 8 in who is maybe a £40 million player. You're right. Shane says, he says, I hope all is well. It's been a tough week. My first cousin passed away last Sunday from cancer, 40 years of age and leaving 3 kids behind, says Shane. That is a tough week, Shane. Glad to have you with us this evening. I hope you're doing well. You're here for a good time, not a long time. I mean, this has happened to me twice where I've known people who've been around that age, leaving a wife and kids behind. It makes no sense. I don't think you should try and make sense out of it. There is no justice. Life is not fair. You will lose yourself trying to justify it. So, sorry to hear it. Hopefully, this evening you can find some solace. Because we all have to move on. We all have to move forward. Otherwise, everything those people we lose stood for means nothing. But thoughts are with you, mate. And yeah, horrible news. As much as I dislike Garnacho, he's proving his haters wrong, says Ash. Can I do a poll? Do we block Ashton for that? As much as I dislike Garnacho, he's proving haters wrong. You are what I call rage bait, Ashton. I mean, Garnacho's proving his haters wrong for having a good game against the Championship side. Yeah. What a goal by Harvey Barnes. He might be offside, to be honest. Yeah, no, Garnacho is not proving anybody wrong. He's, I mean, it wasn't even a red card, and he rolls on the ground like he's fucking Tom Daly in a bloody jumping off a diving board. Yeah, he can do one, Garnacho. Absolutely do one. Would you bench Mainu and Mbeumo for next game, Mark, says Antos? I can't bench Mainu. I haven't got anybody else. And I would drop Mbeumo for Ahmad, though. I still can't get how you wipe standing up. Not anymore, Curtis. Not anymore. Emily Derry's in the chat. She's been a member for 47 months. Thanks for getting the badge in, Emily. She says, we're guaranteed not to get players like Anderson and Tonali if you don't go for it. Personally, if the opportunity is there, we have to go for it. Thank you very much. Also, 73% of you would pay £86 million for Tonali. Only 26% of you wouldn't. Well, look, this segues into a great comment there from Chicken. He basically says Ashton twat, nothing else. Harsh, but some might say fair. Look, this segues in lovely. Newcastle are beating Man City 1-0, by the way. This segues absolutely perfectly into what I was going to talk about. Again, it was in the Ben Jacobs show with Beth, but I left it because I think there was bigger things to talk to, and I wanted to leave it for tonight because I think it fits in perfectly. Have you noticed how, well, I've mentioned it a couple of times, so you will have noticed, the Elliot Anderson story is becoming more and more distant. They used it for 6 months as a #1 priority to keep you all excited, and then they're removing it away going, oh, it's a bit expensive, it will be quite difficult. And maybe, maybe if we're being completely honest, that Tonali story is going to do exactly the same. Because let's be real, the last month certainly, Tonali has been a player that Man United really, really want. And Romano's mentioned it, and loads of people have mentioned it. So I think that with regards, I'm putting Wrexham back on. Apparently it's 3-3. With regards to, they're checking it for a possible offside now. It's offside. It's going to be offside. He is offside as well, I can tell. But with regards to Tonali, we've definitely pushed that story credibly. And people say, well, what is credibility in journalism? Credibility in journalism is when it's verified from credible sources. So I think when you look at the Tonali story, it's been verified by credible sources. So Man United are happy for that story to be out there. And maybe sometimes, United don't put the story out there. I would agree. Maybe Man United didn't ring up David Ornstein and say, you can put it out there that we're in for Tonali. They certainly will have done that sometimes. It's offside. They certainly will have done that sometimes. But what they can do is when they hear that Man United are in for Tonali, journalists pick the phone up and ask the club, are you in for Tonali? And the club would have the opportunity to say no. They haven't denied it. So this happens a lot. I've done it. I know loads of journalists have done it. I've heard Andy Mitten say he's done it. So I remember Andy Mitten saying it about Kingsley Coman, actually. So if I hear from my source that Man United want to sign Angelo Stiller and they put a bid in, I could get in contact with someone at Man United officially and say, we're going to run this. Is there a bid in for Stiller? And they would say, no. Or they would say, we cannot comment about that. In which case, you'd run it. So the Tonali story, the club could deny it, and they haven't. But it feels like it could be heading the same way as Anderson again, where you use it to your advantage for a month and get people really, really excited. And then you start to kill it by going, oh, it's too expensive, the wages, this, that, and the other. So I hope Tonali doesn't go the way Anderson's going, because it feels like we are being played. And also, as Ben Jacobs said about Andre Santos, Man United have a concrete interest in Chelsea midfielder Santos. The Blues have rejected approaches last summer and are expected to do it again this time around, but Man United hold a concrete interest in him. And I don't want the summer to go like that. It was offside for Wrexham, by the way. I don't want the summer to go like that. I don't want the summer to become well, we started off wanting Anderson and Tonali, and we end up getting Balde and Santos, and still paying ridiculous money for it. So I don't want that to happen, but I think we have to be realistic that there is a dream summer where you may be getting a Nagelsmann or Enrique as your manager, and you bring in people like Anderson and Tonali. And then there is the reality summer where they give it to Carrick or De Zerbi, and they bring in Balde and Joao Gomes. And that both of those things are possible. Which do you think's the reality? Because one of those summers inspires us and excites us and makes us believe, and the other summer sends us into uncertainty. So I think that, it feels like we're losing Anderson. I don't want to be in a month's time, Tonali's not coming either, because the scary thing is, if Anderson goes to Man City and Tonali stays at Newcastle or goes to Arsenal, what are we left with? Like, what's the bit, it's a little bit like what I was saying this morning. If we don't get Enrique and we don't get Nagelsmann and we don't get Tuchel and we don't get Ancelotti, we're not getting an exciting manager. So if we don't get Anderson and we don't get Tonali, we're not getting an exciting midfielder. And that, I suppose that's the fear, isn't it? Mark, the Wolves midfield is so good. Why aren't we going for them? Well, this is a midfield that's going to get relegated, mate. So it can't be that good, can it? What, they've decided to turn up in the last few weeks of the season? I don't. This is exactly my point. Where's the standards in this football club? The Wolves midfield's really good. I don't see Arsenal and I don't see Liverpool and I don't see Man City queuing up to sign Wolves midfield. But you're saying we should be going there. Like, Joao Gomes would be, in my opinion, a cheap second midfielder. He is not a player that makes me go, ooh, we're fucking cooking now. We've got Joao Gomes. I'm sorry. Are you prepared to be disappointed in the summer, says JVS? Well, I think you always have to be prepared to be disappointed with Manchester United. But I think more and more people, I was reading a lot of the comments on the show this morning, and I'm sure it'll be the same again. There is this scenario that's very achievable where you get a really good manager and you get really good midfielders. There is also a very realistic chance that we get a shot in the dark manager and a shot in the dark midfield. As I said, Nagelsmann, Stiller, Tonali, De Zerbi, Balde, Joao Gomes. Both of those are possible for Man United. I know exactly the one I want, and I know exactly the one that gets me excited. And also, I think as fans, we have allowed our expectations and standards to drop. You have an ex-player saying United aren't doing very well, and half our fan base is doing the Glazer work for them, slagging them off. When they're actually saying the standards of the club aren't very good because you've been lowered. You've been lowered down into the shit. And you like the smell now because you're used to it. But it's still shit. And I think that the standards of Man United, I look at the summer of Mourinho, world-class manager, Pogba, world-class signing, Zlatan, world-class signing, massive excitement. Massive excitement, and that actually happened. This summer, mediocre manager, mediocre midfield is a reality. But top-class manager, top-class signings is a possibility. We've been shit for 10 years. Why would we even consider inferior products as a pathway back to being successful? You get what you pay for in football. Get the best manager and the best players, you'll be successful. Take risks, you won't. Newcastle aren't Man City because they haven't got Pep managing the club and they haven't got Erling Haaland up front. Man City are Man City because they got the best manager and the best striker. Real Madrid are Real Madrid because they go and get the best. Barcelona are Barcelona because they try and get the best. PSG are the Champions League winners because they got the best manager and the best players. Arsenal probably win the Premier League because they've continually gone out and got the best players. I don't know if it's me, but I've been disappointed in Cunha's ball striking ability this year. Other than that Arsenal beauty at Wolves, his catalogue was insane. I'm very happy with Cunha. I think with Cunha there is a there is an improvement. I don't necessarily like the fact that he's a left winger, but I do like Cunha. I want to talk about this next anyway, because obviously we can get into the chat in a moment, but this came in from Sport and is obviously in the title. So Manchester United are interested in signing Spanish left back Alejandro Balde this summer, and are prepared to offer Barcelona £35 million or propose a direct swap involving Marcus Rashford to Barcelona. Now, dismiss it if you like. Absolutely your right to do that. But we have been linked to Balde for about 18 months. Consistently linked to him. Obviously, he is a left back. He is 22. And it's very, very obvious that Manchester United like him. And it's very, very obvious. Sorry, there's a right dickhead in the chat. Let me get rid of them. Yeah, there is. And it's also a Spanish story. So the thing about Barcelona is you just never know with Barcelona if they need to raise money or not. They pull levers, they want to sign players, and Manchester United clearly like Balde. I mean, I think he's decent. Some people think he's injury prone. Personally, the left back for Man United is already playing in the Premier League, and his name's Lewis Hall. I think he's brilliant. And I think he's going to go to Arsenal or Liverpool or Man City and be world class, or back to Chelsea. So I don't know why we're looking in Spain. But it is a story that I drop in because we do continually get linked to him, and we have got. It feels, you know what it feels like to me? It feels like the Rashford transfer is problematic. It feels to me like, obviously Rashford wants to go to Barcelona. Barcelona want Rashford. They can afford his wages, but they can't afford the 25 million. And I think Man United are like, this is Marcus Rashford. He was meant to be the next big thing. He's 28, he's not 38. He's in his 20s still. We can't just let him go to Barcelona for free. So I do wonder if there is a little bit of, is there a swap deal here or something like that? Because Barcelona are sort of offering it up a little bit themselves. And maybe Barcelona look at Balde and go, good player, but he is injury prone. Let's give him to United, who need a left back. In which case, you'd have to be very concerned, because we actually do not want anybody that's going to be injury prone. But he's a good player. He's a first team player for Barcelona. He's a good left back. I think that in the Premier League, he'd probably be a decent player. But I think, like many of you've said, the confidence in his injury record would be a problem. I mean, look, Big Sab says, what about Anthony Robinson at Fulham? I like Anthony Robinson at Fulham. United won't do that deal because he's over 28. I mean, look, Luke Shaw averages 1 cross every game. Anthony Robinson averages 5. He's exactly what you want in a Man United left back. We need players that go forward, and we absolutely should be looking at players like that, but I don't think that it will happen. Can you do a comparison of the hotter meter at the start of Windows versus what we've got every window since Ineos came in? Just an idea, says Sean. I mean, we'd have to find the hotter meters. I have a funny feeling, Sean, that those hotter meters might have been lost in recycled bins months ago. I don't think we retain them, but there's probably screenshots we can find from old streams. Mr. M. Parker says, for decades, we've always lacked in some area. I remember when we had no defence, then we had no 10s, now we've got no midfield. We're always, I think what you're saying, I want to get into your comments. That's what a Saturday night show is all about. So thanks everyone who's tuning in. The hardcore who are live, get your questions in. I've got a beer on the go. It's a Saturday night. I love these types of shows. If you're new to the United Stand, make sure you subscribe. Get your comments in. If you're not watching live, let us know your thoughts. I think this is a great point, Parker, and it's something that, I mean, I could write a book on things that frustrate me about Man United, comparable to clubs that want to be successful. But let's use our city rivals, right? They never stand still. They didn't win the league last year. They might not win the league this year. But they never stand still and go, slowly, let's build, right? It's like, last season, it was Arsenal and Liverpool. Man City ruined their title hopes in the first half of the season. But in the January transfer window, they went and bought 3 or 4 players. In the summer, they again go and buy 3 or 4 players. And then in the January transfer window, they go and get Gehi and Semenyo. Even when they're not winning, they're constantly building. There is no standing still. Like, if we need a left back, let's get a left back. But they'll anticipate it before it's a problem anyway. They anticipate their problems because they're a football club that wants to be competitive. And they might not win the league, but they'll be in the top 3. They'll probably be in the top 2. You look at Man United and we don't solve problems. We don't. With Jadon Sancho, we needed a winger. We went for Sancho, we didn't get him. We didn't get a winger, and then we went and got him the next year. So basically, for 2 years, we had a hole in our team where we didn't buy a winger. You look at the midfield, we needed a midfield, not even last summer, we needed a midfielder the season before. And I know we got Agate, but I felt we needed 2. And I thought we were going to get 2. So the midfielder that we didn't get last summer, we could have got the year before. We didn't have enough midfielders, even with Agate. We had Mainu, who was a kid, Casemiro, Agate, and Bruno. 4 midfielders for 3 positions was never enough. So people say, well, we didn't get a midfielder last summer. We actually needed 2 the summer that we got Agate. We were light in the midfield, even with Agate. So we've been carrying 1, arguably 2 midfield spots for 2 years. And the problem with that is that if you don't solve problems as they come, other problems present them. It's like today, I didn't have much to do this afternoon, so I was catching up on a bit of DIY. And I knew my daughter's bedroom, one of the light bulbs had gone, so I knew I needed to rewire that. Then when I was getting all the bulbs out, I went in Seb's room, his bulb had gone, 1 had gone in our room, and 1 had gone in the hall. So I ended up doing 4 things because the one job I knew I'd been holding off on doing, another 3 had gone. And that's the same with Man United. It's like, oh, we need a bulb in the hall. Oh, we'll do it tomorrow, we'll do it tomorrow. And by the time you come to do that, that one's gone and that one's gone. And this is how United acts. Like, where we are now, we need 2 midfielders and we need 2 fullbacks. And if we don't solve those problems in the summer, let's say we still need 2 fullbacks after the summer, by next summer or January, we'll need a striker or something else. So I know DIY replacement, that's not DIY replacement of a bulb. Mate, did I do it myself? Yes. Do it yourself? Yes. For decades, we've always lacked in some areas, says Parker. Thank you very much. The continual messages that United still view Balde as a top target despite consistently bad performance. Sorry, Emily. Some big words in here. I'm struggling. So Emily Derry has been very generous with the super chat. She says the continual messages that United still view Balde as a top target despite consistently bad performances compared to other targets outperforming him says all you need to know about standards. Oh, 100%. The standards in this football club are a joke. And that's not being negative. That's just a reality. Like, I watched Liam Delap today for Chelsea. Even against a championship defence, he's average. And Jason Wilcox, the head of the director of football who makes the decisions on who the manager is and who we should sign, had Liam Delap as our first signing last year. He literally spent ages on that deal. That was his big deal. And thankfully it didn't happen, but that's your director of football. He thinks Liam Delap was a good signing for Man United. Wilcox is useless and needs sacking now, says Laura. I'd love it. I'd love it. Absolutely love it. Carlo says DIY with Goldbridge. Thank you very much. And do you think that Carrick would be happy as a number 2 to someone else with an eye on the job himself in the future, taking the pressure off himself? I think Michael Carrick would be a decent number 2 to someone like Enrique or Nagelsmann. I think that's probably his limit when it comes to big clubs. But I don't think he wants to be a number 2. I think he wants to be. I think he wants to be a number 1. Mike JW says, we cannot get less than 6 players. We need depth and quality now and for the future. Thank you very much, Mike. And Weekend Getaway says, notice how Heaven and Ahmad being on the bench and we're not hearing any noise. They actually deserve to be starting. The whole Mainu versus Amrim thing was wrong. Yeah, but you know what, mate? That's just the British press and the foreign bias. You're absolutely correct. Like, Mainu is an English player that wasn't being picked by a foreign manager, so it becomes a problem. You know, I don't agree with this, but I have seen people saying it. In some ways, Amorim has been proven right about Mainu. He's not been proven right about not being able to win 2 or 3 games in a row. I mean, that he's been proved wrong on that. But some people believe he's been proven right about Mainu. I think that he could have used Mainu more, and I think it's disappointing that he didn't. However, I do think that he wouldn't have worked in his system. I don't think Mainu in a midfield 2 would have worked very well at all. Having seen how he's performed in a 3, I think it would be even harder in a 2. Can you do a comparison? I've done that one from Sean. Thank you very much, Sean, for your comment. Eno says, we are Chelsea light. Only difference is Chelsea actually go and get the business done. We're incompetent even at copying that part of their model. I mean, look, the ironic thing is that Chelsea probably won't sell as Santos because they want to keep him. But the fact that we have concrete interest in a Chelsea midfielder needs to stop. Like, I don't know who it is that's doing it, but it actually needs to stop. Like, we can't keep buying Chelsea players. Like, we have to start realising we're Manchester United and we can't keep buying players from Chelsea that they don't really want anymore. Like, we need to go and find our own players. Like, the next Caicedo, the next Enzo Fernandez. We can't be going to Chelsea to buy players anymore because it's not worked out that well for us, and they will rip us off as they have done before. I hope Chelsea get Arsenal in the next round and get knocked out, says Louise O'Donoghue. And look, in relation to Garnacho, I mean, he's been shit all season. He's obviously played well in the last 2 games. At some point, he's going to play good games because he is a decent player when he puts his mind to it. But £40 million for Garnacho, for us, when he basically walked around in a Villa shirt and Amorim had told him to fuck off, £40 million for him will always be a good deal. Because he's never going to be a £100 million player. And he's never not going to be a headache like he was last summer. So whatever he does, and I'm sure there will be games where he has a good game, in the grand scheme of things, we did good business there. We are not playing with 3 midfielders longer. Now Bruno is running around like a headless chicken and Maino has been crap in the midfield, says Pal. Why are you talking about Garnacho? He's left, it's been 6 months. Because he's literally just had a good game for Wrexham and we were just watching it. How many times, Mark? Tonali, 0% chance, says Romo. Mazraoui says, Tonali is world class, but he's also good looking. We're Manchester United, the biggest club and have image. We need good players that are handsome. I mean, I never thought of it like that, Mazraoui. But yeah, I have no words. I have absolutely no words about that at all. Sorry, I've just been asked if we can block somebody in the chat. I will if I can find them. I don't think they're really spamming. I just think, unfortunately, they're just repeating the same thing over and over, so I can easily deal with that. Thank you very much. Do you miss Man United not being in the FA Cup? I mean, I think the FA Cup's shit. You know, I know it's a Saturday night show and I'm more than happy to answer any questions. I think that the FA Cup is crap. I mean, look, Man United weren't playing this weekend. I've got That's Football. I like watching football. I thought I'll do Wrexham against Chelsea. I watched it. Chelsea reserves, Arsenal reserves against Mansfield, Man City reserves against Newcastle. I don't think that's magical. The FA, what used to happen is that this weekend, the Premier League clubs that were out would play each other in the Premier League. And I wish they still did that, because I mean, look, Man United haven't played many games this season. That's the way it is. But Man United not playing and then being left with the FA Cup, it's a hard weekend. Do I wish Man United were in it? I wouldn't go as far as to say I wish we were in it. We don't deserve to be in it. We got knocked out legitimately by Brighton, and it was a crap performance. I think we've missed an opportunity. I think if there's any year where we probably should be taking the FA Cup seriously and pushing deep into it, it's now. I think it's a shame. It's a shame. I don't blame Darren Fletcher. I blame Wilcox. Surprise, surprise. I blamed Wilcox in Sainsbury's the other day because there was no oat milk. I blamed Wilcox because a car cut me up at a roundabout 3 weeks ago. And I'll probably blame Wilcox if I stub my toe walking out of the kitchen tonight. But seriously, I do blame Wilcox for us being out the FA Cup. If it matters to you, I don't. It doesn't matter to me now. We're out. I think we've missed an opportunity, but I do blame him because the fact is, Fletcher managing the Burnley game in the cup in the league made sense because it was only a couple of days after the Leeds game. But the FA Cup game was a week after Amrim had gone, and if we'd got Carrick in, we would have won that game. And don't forget, after Amrim had been sacked, incredibly, Man United took 2 weeks to get an interim in. It doesn't take 2 weeks to get an interim in. So the reason we're not in the FA Cup is because Wilcox is shit at his job. Because what should have happened for an interim is Amrim's sacked on Sunday, Carrick's in by the end of the week. But it was the end of the following week before we got Carrick in. So if we'd have got Carrick in for that Brighton game, which was a week after Amrim had been sacked, I think we would have won it. But for some unknown reason, Man United decided to interview interims, which is incredible. So, yeah. We've missed an opportunity in the FA Cup, but that's down to the ownership. You don't take 2 weeks between sacking a manager to get an interim in. Why don't we arrange any friendlies with people, says the Bitter Moose. I don't really know. It's not this one. I mean, this one's not bad. I mean, it's Sunday tomorrow, and we play next weekend. So it will go really quick. It's after the international break when we don't play for 3 weeks. That, to me, is incredible. But, you know. City reserves are playing better football tonight than most Premier League clubs. Savinho looks incredible. Yeah, but, mate, this is the journey, isn't it? Like, you play so many... If you want to be a successful football club now... I mean, look at Arsenal, right? They played midweek against Brighton. No, sorry, last Sunday they played Chelsea. Midweek, they're away at Brighton. Today, it's an FA Cup game against Mansfield. Tuesday, it's Leverkusen. Next weekend, it's Everton. Midweek, it's Leverkusen. You know, and then I think the weekend after that, it's maybe the Carabao Cup. I don't know. It's a big game every 3 or 4 days for 9 months. That's what success is. A big game every 3 or 4 days for 9 months. Look at our squad. We haven't even got a good first team. We're not equipped for that. So I don't even look at Man City's reserves and go, I'm surprised, because Arsenal reserves is very good as well. But you have to have that. If you want to be successful, you have to have that. And if you haven't got that, you're not going to be successful. No coincidence we need more midfielders for Ten Hag and Amrim. Both projects failed, says Jaff. And JBS says, do you think new stadium can turn us like Spurs? I think the new stadium in a Man United context is irrelevant. What I would say about the new stadium is that it doesn't guarantee success, because £50 million in the hands of a genius is exciting. £500 million in the hands of idiots is failure. From when Sir Alex Ferguson left to today, we've probably spent around 1.5 billion on transfers. And look at where we are. So, money isn't necessarily Man United's issue. It's the people spending it. So, oh, we build a new stadium. I mean, we've still got to pay for it. I don't know how that's going to work. But we build a new stadium and suddenly we've got loads more money. But who's spending that money? You know? That's always going to be the problem. Mazraoui says, you always say no Liverpool players, but would you ever consider City players? Look, I'd never be comfortable signing a Liverpool player or a Man City player. But when I look at Van Persie, we took their best player to help us win the league. I think if you are... It's like the Chelsea thing. Chelsea think they're better than us. And over the last 5 years, they are. So when Chelsea give us a player, it's because they don't want them anymore. Matic, Mason Mount. If you take Caicedo from Chelsea because you're better than them, I ain't got a problem with that. If you take a player they don't want to give up because you're better than them, I ain't got a problem with that. What I have got a problem with is taking Schweinsteiger from Bayern or Varane from Real Madrid or Mount from Chelsea when all of those clubs are better than us and are giving us players they don't want anymore. That's when it's a problem. So if Man United were, you know, this close to the title and they went and bought Erling Haaland, I wouldn't give a shit. But if we're 8th and we pay Man City money for John Stones, I've got a problem with it. So I think you never really want to be buying from your rivals. But if it's Van Persie, you'll do it because you are taking them from somewhere to come somewhere better to do something big. Emily Derry says, I reckon Wilcox took 2 weeks to choose an interim because he was told that his job was on thin ice at the time. Emily, I think he took 2 weeks because he was going to give it to Solskjaer. I think Solskjaer would have been in for the Brighton game. If the fan reaction and the media reaction had been positive, and I've got no evidence on this, but I think 2 weeks on an interim is ridiculous. And I personally think Solskjaer was in by the end of the week, but then the backlash made them change their mind and they took a little bit longer and turned toward Carrick. Yeah, that's why I think they took so long. I genuinely think he was going to give it to Solskjaer. And I know a couple of people who think that as well. I think they were going to give it to Solskjaer. Do you think there will be competition for places next season, or will it be the same old players knowing they will play regardless of performance? This is Danny. Danny, I think if we want to be in a Champions League spot next season, we need competition for places because I guarantee you there will be injuries next year and we will need competition for places. Absolutely. So centre-backs, we need 5 or 6. Full-backs, we need 4 or 5. Midfielders, we need 6. Goalkeepers, we need 2. Strikers, we need 2. Wingers, we need 4. Like, we need a lot of players. We need a lot of players, which is why, for me, in the summer, we need to sign 6 to 10 players in the summer. It can't be 3 or 4. Hi, Mark. If the next manager has issues with Wilcox, should the manager be protected or Wilcox, or do we need context? Look, I'm not here to... It's not the Jason Wilcox. It's not It's not the sack Jason Wilcox show. And I don't actually like talking about people who are probably nice people not having a job. However, Manchester United has an emotional attachment to millions. And we can't all just sit there and go, oh, Jason Wilcox is probably a nice guy. We don't want to put him on the employment line. We can't think like that. It's a competitive sport. Ruthless decisions need to be made. Man United, for too long, have incredibly continued down this path of keeping people in jobs we all know are crap and never proved us wrong. Ed Woodward, John Murtagh, Richard Arnold. All these people continually were criticised by this fan base as being out of their depth. And they all did fail. And they all stayed for too long. Jason Wilcox, maybe Omar Berrada as well. Maybe Berrada. Maybe he should be in the conversation. But certainly Wilcox is somebody that for whatever reason is massively protected, has huge power, and is factually crap at what he's meant to be doing. And look, people might go, well, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. The director of football of Manchester United should have authority and aura, and he has neither. He's uncharismatic, uninspiring, and on top of that, and they're factual traits, by the way, you can visibly see he's not very charismatic, and he's not very inspiring. They're factual. But on top of that, virtually everything he's touched has gone wrong. Whether it's Dan Ashworth, whether it's Erik ten Hag, whether it's Ruben Amorim, whether it's, giving it to Solskjaer, taking 2 weeks to do that, some of the signings, Delaps, this, that, Agate, all these things he was involved in. He was one of the first people to come into the club. People forget that Wilcox was in the role. When did Wilcox come in? I think Wilcox was in really quick. I think I might be wrong. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll type it. Okay, this is going to terrify you. So, Ineos came in February 2024 officially. Wilcox was appointed on the 19th of April 2024. I've heard United fans say he was nothing to do with Ten Hag keeping his job. He was nothing to do with Dan Ashworth being appointed. He was nothing to do with Agate. Agate signed in August 2024. The decision to keep Ten Hag was in June 2024. Dan Ashworth came in the July 2024. Wilcox was there for all of those. Wilcox was one of the very first people. He was there in April 2024. So every decision, from Ashworth to keeping to Ten Hag, to sacking Ten Hag, to signing £300 million players for Ten Hag, from Xerxes to Agate, all the way through to Delap, sacking Amorim, employing Amorim, he's had his fingerprints on all of it. And he is still the guy that will decide our summer transfer plans and our manager. I don't know, and I don't think it's wrong to sit here and say he should be sacked. He's been here for 2 years and we've made constantly bad decisions. Why is he being allowed to be the guy again when he's got it? I mean, he's sacked 2 managers. He's employed 2 managers and he's sacked 2 managers at a cost of 40 million quid. And he spent over 500 million pounds on those managers. He kept Ten Hag, spent 300 million pounds, sacked Ten Hag, got Amorim in, spent 200 million pounds, sacked Amorim. Like, how is this not a topic? Why are people not talking about it? He's been here for 2 years. He's been involved in every decision. And he's responsible for the summer. I think it makes Sir Jim Radcliffe completely and utterly incompetent that he hasn't replaced Wilcox. He's replaced 2 managers, but he keeps the guy. Wrong. Wrong. Wilcox reminds me who stands next to the villain in a Marvel movie, likes to be close to the throne and the power without the accountability or the visibility, says Emily Derry. Billy Big Balls, thank you very much for your super chat. He says, hi Mark, seeing how Spurs are performing this season, are we lucky we didn't win the Europa League? All those extra games could have done the same to us. I mean, that's an incredible take, Billy. I've never ever even thought about it, so I'll applaud you on that. I mean, winning the Europa League, I never would have thought it would be a good thing. But you're right. Even signing Sesko and Cunha and Mbeumo and Le Mans, all those extra games in the Champions League, what I would say is I don't think we'd be getting relegated, Billy, but I don't think we'd be in the Champions League this year. And I remember saying, and I'll say it to you now, and I said it then, I said if we win the Europa League, I don't think we'll be back in the Champions League next year. I don't think we'll be able to deal with getting in the top 5 and playing in the Champions League. So I think that, you're right. But I think that might happen next year. I mean, winning the Europa League is basically finishing in the top 5. You get in the Champions League. I don't know that next year we can deal with it based on what we know at the moment. Young Eunice Talks Girls, okay, says we should instead be pre-ordering academy players so they ripen over time. Okay. Daniel Thompson says, I'd pay whatever it takes to get Tonali. I think he's crucial to get and we need their very best quality. You get what you pay for, and to succeed, we need to get the best. Hope you're well and had a good day. Well, yeah. It's the same as... I mean, look, it's incredible to say this like it's enlightenment and genius. But there is nothing stopping Man United employing Enrique Ornegalsman, employing a top-class director of football, and signing Tonali and Stiller. All those things would happen at a proper football club. But we all know everything I've just said there is complete and utter fantasy. But the reality is that's what best in class is. It's removing Wilcox and bringing a proper director of football in. It's recruiting the best available players that are available, and it's getting the best manager. And all those things could be done, but we all know, who are watching this live or not, that we're not going to do that because of how we're run. Absolutely. So Mazraoui's back again. He says got it. So yes to Ekatike, no to 2026 Salah. Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah. Eunice Talks Girls said you should do Mark Talks Girls, new channel, make it happen. Yeah, and first video will be divorced in your 40s. What happens if Tottenham wins the Champions League and goes down, says Emil? What happens is you pinch yourself and then you wake up. Because they might go down, but they're not winning the Champions League, mate. I mean, they couldn't win the Championship, let alone the Champions League. So, yeah, don't worry about that. No City versus Newcastle watch along. No, mate, because on a Saturday night, I don't give them up to watch Man City reserves play Newcastle in an FA Cup that nobody respects and is basically shit. Berrada and Wilcox like Amrin, by the way, but they went back on their word to fully back him, leading to the fallout. Yeah, they're snakes as well. Yeah. Yeah, which is why I would sack him anyway, because if I sit in a room and somebody says, let's keep Eric Ten Hag and spend £300 million on him, and then 3 months later he says to me, let's sack Eric Ten Hag, and then he goes, let's recruit Ruben Amorim and spend £200 million on him, and then a year later says, let's sack Ruben Amorim. One, I know I've got a snake in front of me, and two, fool me once, it's okay, fool me twice, you're gone. And that, I think, is the best analysis I can give about Wilcox and possibly Berrada. Let's get real. Sir Jim Radcliffe doesn't run that club day to day. So he will have spoken to Wilcox and Berrada, and they will have said, let's keep Eric Ten Hag and write cheques for £300 million. And then 3 months later, they're saying sack him. And then they're saying, let's get Ruben Amorim and spend money on him and build something. And then 12 months later, they're saying sack him. This just shows you how bad Sir Jim Radcliffe is at his job, because that is just blatant. If anybody walks into my office, tells me to do things, and then 3 months later says, let's sack them, I'd go, these are chances. These are snakes. These are incompetent people protecting their own arse and throwing their solutions in the bin. So, you know, how he is still letting them make decisions is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Yeah. Okay, it's 9 o'clock. I can't read Eunice Talk Skills because it's just being rude talking about snakes. So we'll leave that there. Fantastic show tonight. I don't always get to do Saturday Night Live, but I love doing Saturday Night Live. So thank you everybody who has tuned in as always. Morning show this morning was brilliant. If you didn't watch it, about Enrique, really enjoyed that. And sorry, let me just get rid of this person as well. There we are. Just to let people know who infiltrate the chat and try and say something horrible. There might have been days 8 years ago when I might have read them out. What I do now is I just have a little smile in my head and click and block. And you know, you have to set up a new account and you still won't get read out. So it's just a little bit of a warning that those days of being read out, they don't happen. It won't happen. Somebody just set up there. Thanks everybody for watching. Stay safe. 10 o'clock show tomorrow, morning show. Seb's game's been bloody called off. So, yeah. It does say talks. I don't know what you're talking about. So, yeah, 10 o'clock show tomorrow. We'll be live. Take care, everybody. Stay safe. Enjoy what you're doing. I'm off to watch a film. I've got a choice between two. But I can't tell you what they are because then you'll ruin them in the chat. I can tell you what they are because I'm not going to read the chat. The new Knives Out film or the Formula 1 film, I think. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. I'll speak to you in a bit.